Well, good morning again, and thank you for joining us at the Ridge. It is great to be together as always, and it was truly a gift to be led in worship by Adam today. I first came to the Ridge in 2010, so he's had to deal with me for 15 years now, and he has stuck with me as a friend and brother through highs and lows, and I'm so grateful for him, and it's good to have him back. I didn't text him one time on his sabbatical, even though I wanted to. But I hope you know, as a church, his love for God, his love for you. 20 years is amazing. And this church would not be who we are or where we are without him and Nikki, their children. So didn't plan to do this today, but can we just take a moment to thank the Lord for him and his family, just for who they are and all they've done. Yeah, he's never getting another sabbatical. I missed him too much. I'm just kidding, maybe in a few years. Well, it was June 2011, and I was making final preparations for a mission trip to our sister church in Honduras, and it's fun. I'm looking around right now. Yes, there's one, maybe two. Fun to look around and see some of you who were actually on that particular trip. And not wanting to miss, my wife and newborn daughter too much, I decided to purchase my first iPhone. And I tend to be what's called a late adopter to technology. I enjoy it, but I'm just a little slower. You know my passion for VHS tapes. Let's bring those back. All right, working on it. But I bought one, and it was the iPhone 4, which was the first one that had FaceTime technology. So I remember flying into Honduras, making the trip to our host home, settling in, connecting it to their Wi-Fi, and then hitting that FaceTime button for the first time, because I didn't test it before I left. And I hit that button, it connected to my Mac laptop at home, and there they were. My wife, Hillary, my newborn daughter, Sephora, face to face. I mean, I was geeking out so hard. I'm like, this is so cool. I cannot believe this exists. Over the years, I really have enjoyed using a smartphone, and it feels like I use it for everything: calls, texts, pictures, videos, maps. And I love that you always have a flashlight in your pocket. I think that's one of the neatest features. And I tend to use my phone a lot. I know I do, but I've always felt like I've kept it in check. Until they started sending that pesky notification every week about your screen time. Do any of you get that? Is there a way to turn that off? Because I would rather not know. So over the last 14 years of being a smartphone user, which is 5,110 days, by the way, and an average of 4 hours a day is 20,400 hours, which equals 2.3 years. Let me say that again. 14 years of having an iPhone, all of those days at 4 hours a day, which is what I average, is 20,400 hours or 2.3 years. I would like to believe that the healthy uses are the 2 part, but it's probably the 0.3 part. That's a lot of time, which means I might have a problem with my phone. I'm not saying I do, but I might have a problem with my phone. If you're new today, this is the 6th and final message in this series by that title, I Might Have a Problem, and we're looking at modern problems, and we're just being honest about the fact that we face real challenges in our day and age. Like, people have always faced challenges in their generation, but we're looking at biblical solutions for these challenges. And now, you're not going to find a Bible verse that says, thou shalt not be on your phone too much, or thou shalt put it down when you're driving. It's not in there because they didn't exist during biblical times, but we know that God's word is alive and active and timeless. And the truths and principles of God's word can be applied and used to face any problem that we're facing. And that's what we're going to do in just a few moments. A few months ago, I picked up this book, and I'd recommend it if you're interested. It's called The Digital Fast. Detox your mind and reclaim what matters most. It's a 28-day fast, a break from some of the tech to detox your mind and reclaim what matters most. It's by a pastor named Darren Whitehead. I actually have some mutual friends. He's in Tennessee. He describes it as changing your smartphone, and I don't love this word, from a smartphone to a dumb phone, and I don't think that's unique to him, but he helps you think through what is a utility app, a useful piece of technology, like calling, texting. I think there's like measuring tapes, in there, even levels and flashlights. There's a utility to it, and it's helpful, and it's not designed to be distracting or addicting, versus what he calls distraction apps. And we know what those are: social media, games, even the news, right? Because they know if they build enough ads and flash and the algorithm knows what we like, it creates feedback loops that trigger dopamine, makes us feel good. And the notifications that push to our smartwatches or devices keep us coming back for more. In the introduction of his book, Pastor Darren cites a gentleman named Dr. David Greenfield. He's a psychiatry professor and founder of the Center for Internet and Technology Addiction at the University of Connecticut School of Medicine. Dr. Greenfield is considered to be a world-renowned expert in the field of technology addiction. And his team developed a series of tests that you can find online. There's the smartphone test we're going to look at in a moment, but there's social media tests, video game tests to help you determine, is my use normal, concerning, problematic, or considered clinically to be an addiction? So I want to read the 15 yes or no questions from the smartphone compulsion test, and it's in Darren's book, so I'm going to use this. And I would encourage you to keep track, because it's going to be really fun, I promise. I've taken it. And this is the kind of message, if you're here with a spouse or your teen, if they didn't go off to the group, some elbows. Let's keep the elbows to ourselves today and just say, God, help me first, and then we'll deal with all the other people in our life, all right? So here's the 15 questions. It's yes or no. So it's, do I lean this way or do I lean this way? I took the test, I got a 10 out of 15, and unfortunately, he said if you score 8 or more, you may be addicted, which wasn't a surprise to me. Let's jump in, and then we'll get into the scriptures. Number 1, from Dr. Greenfield's test. Do you find yourself spending more time on your cell or smartphone than you realize? Do you find yourself mindlessly passing time on a regular basis by staring at your cell or smartphone? Do you seem to lose track of time when on your cell or smartphone? Do you find yourself spending more time texting, tweeting, or emailing as opposed to talking to people in person? Has the amount of time you spend on your cell or smartphone been increasing? Do you wish you could be a little less involved with your phone? Do you regularly sleep with your cell or smartphone turned on under your pillow or next to your bed? Do you find yourself viewing and answering texts, tweets, and emails at all hours, day and night, even if it means interrupting other things you're doing? Do you text, email, tweet, Snapchat, Facebook message, or surf while driving or doing other similar activities that require your focused attention and concentration? Do you feel your use of cell or smartphone decreases your productivity at times? Do you feel reluctant to be without your cell or smartphone, even for a short time? Do you feel ill at ease or uncomfortable when you accidentally leave your phone in the car or at home, have no service, or a broken phone? When you eat meals, is your cell or smartphone always a part of the table setting? Why did they have to include that one? Man. When your cell or smartphone rings, beeps, or buzzes, do you feel an intense urge to check for texts, tweets, emails, updates, and so on? And finally, do you find yourself mindlessly checking your cell or smartphone many times a day, even when you know there is likely nothing new or important to see? I'm not going to ask for your score. Keep that to yourself. So according to Greenfield's evidence-based research, which includes this test and his other digital tests, here's what they found. Over 50% of U.S. adults so 1 out of 2 of us, and 60% of teens, 6 out of 10, acknowledge that they are addicted to their phones. This addiction involves more than just frequent phone use. It's characterized by an irresistible urge to use the phone, impacting relationships, finances, mental health, and that list could go on. The problem is clear. Phone and technology overuse is subtly, but I would suggest methodically and seriously hurting us. Mind, body, and soul. Research is catching up to help us understand the impact, but I suspect that there is more happening to us than we can even realize. It might be like cigarettes from the 60s. They didn't put a label on them until a lot of years later. Which leads me to our takeaway today. We need to learn to use our phones wisely, or it will use us. Learn to use your phone wisely, or it will use us. And when I use the word use, what I mean is distract, or isolate, or tempt, or deceive, or deplete. But it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't. It doesn't have to be that way. I believe God can help us learn to use it wisely so it doesn't use us. So I've only got 2 points today because I'm like, this isn't a fun message to begin with, so let's just stick with 2, all right? I do have a lot of ground to cover, so it may feel that I'm intentionally speaking a little more quickly, but you can go on our podcast and listen to it at 0.75, all right? If you miss anything. Let's jump in. Point 1. Enjoy the good aspects of technology with intentionality and limits. Enjoy? Didn't he just talk about addiction? Enjoy the good aspects of technology with intentionality and limits. Why am I suggesting that we should enjoy it? From the beginning, God created people in his image. And as image bearers, we are creative. We can take knowledge and available resources and form them into tools. That's the definition of technology. And people created fire, the wheel, dwellings, and it continues to develop, and now we have digital technology. And I do want to go beneath the surface here to consider that when you read Jesus in the Gospels, who we know, fully God, fully man, sinless, when you read the Gospels, you can't escape the fact that he used and leveraged technology to his advantage. And before this message, I never really considered the depth of that thought. Because if it's inherently wrong, Jesus wouldn't have used it. All right, so let me give you just 3 examples to get us going. From Matthew chapter 13, 1 and 2, we read this. On that day, Jesus went out to the house and was sitting by the Sea of Galilee. Such large crowds gathered around him that he got into a boat and sat down while the whole crowd stood on the shore. So as you read the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, there's a lot of references to boats. That was one of humanity's first technologies. Jesus got in the boat to travel around the Sea of Galilee, but in this instance, there were so many people pressing on him who wanted to hear his teaching that the only thing he could do was hop into one of their fishing boats to get enough space. Jesus turned a fishing boat into a floating stage. Like, that's brilliant, right? Interestingly, and I wasn't going to add this for the sake of time, but it's so cool. In 1986, during a drought in Israel, they discovered what carbon dating proved to be a first century fishing boat. Let me show you it. It's considered to be the Jesus boat. It's in a museum in Israel. 27 feet long for our podcast listeners, 7.5 feet wide, about 4 feet deep, and it was preserved in the mud. So imagine Jesus and 12 disciples crammed in that boat. That was the size, all right? Now, of course, there's no evidence to prove that Jesus was in that boat, but what if he was? I mean, that's kind of neat to think about. You can still see it. You can go touch it in Israel today. Second, Jesus and his disciples, just another example, moved from town to town using another form of technology. We read this, Matthew chapter 9, verse 35. Then Jesus went to all the towns and villages, teaching in their synagogues, preaching the good news of the kingdom and healing every disease and sickness. How did he travel? He walked on Roman roads. I've walked on them personally. They're amazing. They're still there. We probably could learn a thing or two for our potholes here in West Virginia, just saying. That was technology, and Jesus leveraged it to go about his ministry. Let me give you one more example. As he walked, he wasn't barefoot. He used another form of technology. Mark chapter 1, verse 7. He was preaching. This is referring to John the Baptist declaring who Jesus was. He was preaching, someone more powerful than I will come after me. I am not worthy to stoop down and untie the strap of his sandals. Now, as trivial as that may seem, even his shoes show that Jesus embraced the technology of his day. This goes for the chisels and hammers he would have used before his ministry as a carpenter, stonemason. Luke chapter 4, it says that he unrolled a scroll of Isaiah, which was a form of technology. So from my perspective, just go with me here. If God's plan was for Jesus to walk the earth in 2025 instead of 2,000 years ago, what kind of technology would Jesus be using to advance his ministry, to bring about the greatest good? Could it be that if Jesus was here now, he would hop in a car and zip over to Ruby or Mon to heal someone? I mean, think about it. It's kind of fun. Or if Jesus would hop on a plane out of Morgantown or Pittsburgh to fly from continent to continent to bring the message of God. And this next statement might blow your mind, but I really believe Jesus would have had a smartphone. He would have texted his disciples. He would have live streamed his Sermon on the Mount. You know what I mean? It's just fun to kind of think about, but I really believe he would have. My point is this. Too often when we enter into this conversation, which is hard, about technology, the guilt and the shame and the challenges would lead us to believe that we need to throw the baby out with the bathwater. I know that's how I feel. Maybe I just don't need a smartphone. Maybe I just need a flip phone. Some people are doing that. Maybe that's what someone needs to do. But in my opinion, wouldn't it be a loss if we got rid of all of the tools that God gave us for our generation to build relationships, to share the gospel, to be healthier as we track our steps and sleep? Like, wouldn't that be a shame to say, God, you are sovereign, you're in control, you enabled people to create these things, but because we can't manage it, it's all got to go away. I don't think we have to do that. For instance, show of hands, how many of you are familiar or have used the YouVersion Bible app? Quick show of hands, it's okay if you don't. All right, most of you, a lot of you. It's developed from Life Church in Oklahoma. Here's what the icon looks like if you're not familiar. It's free, ad-free. To date, that little app has been downloaded 947 million times, closing in on 1 billion downloads. It's available in over 2,000 languages. It's truly incredible. Truly incredible. I mean, it was the 1500s that the printing press was developed to print hard copy Bibles, and now 1 in 7 or 8 people on the planet are using that little app out of Oklahoma. That's pretty cool. Or the fact that we are live streaming this sermon right now to that camera and that camera right there. Hi, Matt. Hi, Mom, if you're watching. How cool. YouTube, Facebook, our website, it'll be on the podcast just after this sermon ends, all to enhance and advance the cause of Christ. Or at any point in the day, you can grab your phone and you can think of a friend or a family member. Say, I was thinking about you. I don't know why I text like that, like a 41-year-old. I'm thinking about you. I don't really text like that. Or you can invite someone to church, right? These are wonderful gifts. Remember what the Apostle Paul said. I have become all things to all people. I am willing to use creativity. I am willing to flex and adapt and try things. I am willing so that what? I might save some. So that by every possible means save some. So that more and more people can come to know the living God. That's a form, that's a use of technology. If the Apostle Paul lived today, there's no doubt in my mind that he wouldn't have written letters to the churches. He would have FaceTimed them, right? He would have texted them. But here's the key phrase in this first point. Enjoy the good aspects of technology with intentionality and limits. It's really hard to use it intentionally because we always have it. I'm 41, so I can remember going to the library in Weirton, West Virginia to use the internet. We probably called it the interweb, I don't know. Mom, I'm going to the library to research a project for school. Does anyone remember that who are my age or older? But that technology had a time and a place. So we used it more intentionally. Or we're going to have a family movie night. Let's turn on the television. Now let's turn it off. It's now everywhere. We need limits. We need limits. Jesus modeled this. Let me give you another scripture, Mark chapter 6, 30 to 32. The apostles gathered around Jesus and reported to him all that they had done and taught. So the context here is Jesus had sent them out to do ministry. They came back to give a report. He said to them, "Come away by yourselves to a remote place and rest for a while. For many people are coming and going and did not even have time to eat." So they went away in the boat, there's some technology, by themselves to a remote place. Jesus modeled limits. If he had a smartphone today, he wouldn't use it all the time. There would be a time and a place and boundaries. It's funny, that passage, the context, they literally chase them down the shore as they go off, and then it says Jesus got back out and taught them after he caught his breath. Pastor Darren Whitehead, in the book I've already mentioned, The Digital Fast, writes this, and this might be worth the price of the book. It's so good. We continue to believe the great lie of the serpent in the garden, that we can be like God. Technology and our devices have reinforced that lie by promising to give us God-like qualities and allowing us to a degree to be all-knowing. Hey Siri. Hey Alexa. Oh, shoot. Sorry.
I don't know how to respond to that.
Distraction. All-knowing. What does it go on to say? Ever-present. All-powerful. We don't know what AI is bringing, folks. We don't. But God created us with limits, and that is by his design and for our ultimate good. Instead of rejecting his design, God calls us to embrace our limits and live in alignment with him in relationship and within the boundaries he has established for us. To live within our God-given limits is to live our lives the way they were always meant to be lived. And when I read that quote, it honestly breaks my heart for the fact that I can remember a world with limits and technology that was easy to put in its place. But for our children and teens today, this is so important that we are mindful of this and help them. I am incredibly encouraged by the fact that more and more families who are aware of the research of screen time affecting social development, mental health, all of these things, that they're choosing to set stricter limits on screen times or getting rid of some of it altogether, or with teens who have phones to move towards parent-controlled phones like the Bark phone. Have you heard of it? Or Gab. These are utility phones. They're useful. They're purposeful. It helps them learn technology appropriately at their age, but it doesn't have social media or unfiltered internet access. These are steps in a positive direction. Less isolated, sedentary screen time and more real-life play and connection is what kids need today. And maybe we can bring landlines back while we're at it. I don't know. But let's be honest for a moment. Limits aren't just for kids and teens. They're for us too. I've been thinking a lot about this in my use of tech, and I think about speed limits. A car is a great piece of technology, but if you don't obey the speed limit and you drive at 90 miles an hour in a 55 zone, we're going to crash. And we're being given such powerful technology without built-in limits, which means we have to figure it out for ourselves, which is really hard. Personally, I've had a Facebook account for years. I don't need TikTok. No one needs to see me dance. But I've been realizing I use it too much. I scroll, post, and it's not healthy. So taking Darren's advice, I deleted the Facebook app and I didn't re-download it like most people do 20 seconds later. I still use it because it's enjoyable and beneficial, but now I go to my phone's internet browser or my laptop, which just creates more intentionality and purpose. However, that really didn't help. Because now I was just on Facebook on my internet browser and I would just scroll. So I went in and set a 30-minute time limit on Safari. And then I hit that limit and I got irritated, so I increased it to an hour. And then I hit that limit and I got irritated and I went to change it and I said, what am I doing? So I went to my wife, Hillary, like a child, and I said, will you create a 4-digit password that I can't see for Safari? I'm not making this up, you can ask her. And I've only tried it one time, and I got it wrong. I'm just kidding. I'm like, there will be a day where I go to her, like my kids with their switches, like, please, just 15 more minutes. So this is what I see every day. I'm not making it up. Sometimes by 10 in the morning. Honestly, we're going to get to point 2 in just a moment. I do feel, as an adult, a little bit embarrassed sharing this. But if it's true that I'm addicted to my phone, like any other addiction, you have to take drastic measures to get it right. I might not need a Safari limit next year. I might be able to manage it, but right now, I do. And if I can't set intentional limits, but I'm expecting my kids to, what does that make me? The Bible has a word for that. It's called hypocrisy. Do as I say, not as I do. So like any form of technology, there is so much good for us to grow in our faith, to build relationships, to share the gospel, to track our health, just to have a laugh. Do you guys see the baby trend where everyone's being turned into babies? It's so funny. I saw Dr. Phil one yesterday. Like, laughter is a gift from God. But because of how powerful and addictive and available it can be, we must be honest about how and why we're using it so it doesn't end up using us. So let's consider the other side of technology. This will go a little more quickly. And like point 2, I'm going to blend in some practical applications alongside the scriptures. So learn to use your phones wisely, or it will use you. Point 1, enjoy the good aspects of technology with intentionality and limits. Point 2, be aware of and on guard against the helpful aspects of technology. For our podcast listeners, in my hand, I have a hammer. I've used this hammer to hang pictures in my home. I've used this hammer to build my kids' treehouse, and it's rusty because they leave it in the woods when my kids borrow it. This same hammer, if I'm not careful, can smash my thumb. This same hammer could be used to smash someone's windshield. This same hammer in the hand of a bad person could flip it around and kill someone. Right? As we discussed, technology can connect, encourage, educate, spread truth, but without wisdom, it can isolate, deceive, or destroy. You know this. You know this. And why is that? Is it because it's designed to be addictive and dopamine, all of that? Sure. But this goes deeper. So go with me here. The world, the flesh, and the devil are at work through technology. And I want to make that case. First, the world. God created a perfect, beautiful world. Adam and Eve chose to sin and broke it, and now we live in a broken world, not as it should be. 1 John chapter 2, verse 15 to 17 go this way. Do not love the world or the things that belong to the world. If anyone loves the world, love for the Father is not in him. For everything that belongs to the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride in one's lifestyle is not from the Father, but is from the world. And the world, with its lust, is passing away, but the one who does God's will remains forever. How often does a good tool, like a phone or tablet designed to help us connect, end up pulling us towards the world's values, leaving us isolated, distracted, or drawn to sin? That's because we live in a broken world. Or second, there's the flesh. I'm not going to read it for the sake of time, but Galatians chapter 5, 19 to 21 talks about the work of the flesh. Words like sexual morality, immoral impurity, an outburst of anger, these things are in our flesh. And the Apostle Paul in Romans 7 says, yes, those without Christ who don't have the Spirit of God in them are battling like crazy, but even those of us who've placed our faith in Christ have the Holy Spirit still battle these things. That's the flesh. Paul says, I do the things I don't want to do. Why is that? It's because of the flesh. I mean, think about the harmless scroll on social media these days, where you're going on Facebook or Instagram or whatever innocently, and then you see explicit content that you weren't even looking for, but it feeds the flesh. I'm old enough to remember when someone would need to go to a gas station in public to purchase explicit content with the risk of being seen. We're now in a day and age where you don't have to look for it because it will look for you, and it feeds the flesh. Or a friend posts vacation pictures, a trip they saved for, and they're innocently sharing because they have friends and family, and we went here, we went there, and we see it, and we're filled with envy and jealousy. How dare they brag? That's the flesh. Or when I post too much and share, and look at this, and sharing's not bad, but what's driving it? Is it keeping up with the Joneses? Is it needing validation? Is it pride? These are deeper things, folks. It's the flesh. And we don't just battle the world or the flesh. We have an enemy. Let me read 1 Peter 5:8 from the Apostle Peter, and then the words of Jesus from John 10:10. Be serious. Be alert. Your adversary, the devil, is prowling around like a roaring lion looking for anyone he can devour. Do you know anyone who's been devoured from technology? Do you know anyone who innocently began to text a friend the opposite sex and it turned into a whole lot more? John 10:10, Jesus said, a thief comes only to steal and to kill and destroy. I have come so they may have life and have it to abundance, the abundant life. That's what the thief wants. To use these good things and distort them and to use them against us to destroy our families and our souls and our lives. I'm not exaggerating when I say this. I can only imagine how thrilled our enemy is that we now carry a device in our pockets 24/7 that gives the world access to us and us access to the world and gives us tools and ability that play into his schemes. And this is the last message in this series. You're probably like, thank goodness. But I find it striking that every other struggle that we've talked about so far, our health, how sedentary we've become, or our schedule, how much time we waste, money, targeted ads, whatever you say, there's an ad. How'd that happen? Amazon Prime, right? Relationships, making eye contact, dealing with issues and conflict instead of texting and posting about it, or Pastor Tim talked about thoughts. All of this is being shaped through technology. Is it any wonder why so many of us feel distracted, exhausted, lonely, anxious, and depressed? It's a big deal. It's a really big deal. So yes, being aware is important. But being on guard is the second step. So quickly, as it relates to these three things, let's talk about the world. We live in a broken world. Temptation is all around us. It used to just be a billboard that you'd have to guard your eyes from. Not anymore. It's everywhere. All of the temptation and brokenness of this world. Let's just remember who we are. We are citizens of heaven. This world is not our home. And Peter says our call is not to be perfect, but to be holy, to live lives that are pleasing unto the Lord, that look countercultural, that look crazy, but are the right way to live and represent Christ well. Doesn't mean we're going to do it perfectly, but we are citizens of heaven. As it relates to the flesh, the rest of Galatians chapter 5, verse 22 and 23 go this way, but the fruit of the Spirit, so this is in contrast to the fruit of the flesh. The fruit of the Spirit, you know it, is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faith, gentleness, and self-control. We need that one. And as we battle the evil one, we're told in Ephesians chapter 6 that every day we need to put on the full armor of God, the sword of the Spirit and the prayer and the breastplate of righteousness, that we wake up, instead of reaching for our phone first, we choose our faith first. And we go to God and say, God, I'm about to go into battle and I need your help. And sometimes the most spiritual thing that any of us can do is what Joseph did when Potiphar's wife was trying to seduce him. He ran. He didn't mess with it. 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 18 says, flee from sexual immorality. Flee means run. We can't play with fire and not get burnt. And to that end, this is a serious problem with much more to come with AI. We need safeguards. We need accountability. Our spouse needs to have our phone password. A trusted friend needs access. We need tools like Covenant Eyes. Let's not neglect to lean into people and good technology to help us. And parents, the time for being naive or negligent is over. It's been over. But this is more important than ever. It's been said, and I tried to find the originating author, but it's such a common quote. It goes this way: when you give a kid a phone, you're not just giving them access to the world, you're giving the world access to them. Let me say it again. When you give a kid or a young teen an unfiltered, unrestricted, full-fledged phone, you're not just giving them access to the world, you are giving the world access to them. And we just talked about what is in this broken world. There are predators. There are perverse individuals, adults and peers alike. Jesus in Matthew 18 had the strongest words possible about anyone who wants to hurt a child. If your child or teen has access to an online-enabled device, a phone, a tablet, online gaming, they are vulnerable. Please safeguard, protect, and in some cases, do the hard thing and remove it entirely. I'm a parent with young kids between 7 and 14. I'm right there with you, if that's where you are. It's not easy. It feels countercultural. The kids feel left out. But in some cases, we need the courage that we sang about already. So as God stirs us to act, It might mean taking that TV out of their bedroom. As God stirs you to act, it might mean replacing their tablet with a coloring book. As God nudges you, it may mean that you tell your 12-year-old you can't have Instagram anymore. The research is so clear. This is creating mental health problems for you. Or it might mean going to your kid or teen who already have a full-fledged smartphone and saying, this is going to be a tough conversation, but we're going to a bark phone. That's what it might mean, because these decisions create short-term pain for them and you, but for your children, your grandchildren, your nieces, your nephews, it is far better that we create this pain for them now than what is possible if we aren't on top of this. Are we all in agreement on that? This is serious and this is real. And finally, let me just give you this. Some of us need to hold on to this helpful reminder. I didn't create this, and again, I don't know who created it. It's called HALT. HALT stands for when you're hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. You are more susceptible to temptation. Let me say it again. Hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. That is your sign to halt, to stop. We're more susceptible and prone to temptation when we're in one of those four places. So be aware of and be on guard against the harmful aspects of technology for ourselves, for those we love, especially for children. We can either learn to use our phones wisely, our technology wisely, their tablets wisely, their PS5s wisely. We can either learn with God's grace and help to do this wisely, or it will use us. Okay, I realize this is a tough subject, and I know there's a lot stirring right now. I know that. But let me remind you of this. We're not alone in this struggle. One of the gifts of biblical community, which that's what this is just to know that you're not alone. So when you think you're the only one who wants to add that screen time or do something inappropriate or do something foolish or make a purchase you know you can't make, you're not alone. And from the beginning, people have struggled. They didn't have digital technology in the Bible, but they drifted, they sinned, they made idols, they got distracted. Remember Jesus' close friends, Luke 10? He went to visit Mary and Martha, and Mary sat with him. She was fully present. She made eye contact. She listened. She conversed. And she enjoyed the fruit of that relationship with Jesus in the moment. But her sister was busy doing what you could describe as good things, making preparations, serving. But Jesus said she missed the most important thing. And this is a lot for me because I look at that number, 14 years, and 2.3 of them have been on my phone, plus tablets and computers, who knows how much more. And it just makes me wonder, how many moments have I missed with my God? How many moments have I missed to just be with my kids instead of scrolling? It doesn't have to be this way. I'm very new at this, like a few months in, but I got a prompt this morning on my phone between services and it said my average screen time last week was 3 hours and 12 minutes. Like, that's a win, because it had been over 4, right? Just small changes in the right direction add up. So because we're at different ages and stages, and we are either drawn to forms of technology or we're not, we have kids or grandkids or we don't, the application here is different for each and every one of us.